Okay, welcome to lesson 71, finding the whole group when a fraction is known. So they're going to give us a couple different word problems here, and we're going to use the information that we find in the word problems to figure out the answer. So the first one says, 3/5 of the fish in the pond were bluegill. If there were 45 bluegill in the pond, how many fish were in the pond? So let me just circle some things here that are important to us. 3/5 are bluegill, and we know that there are 45 in the entire pond, and we want to know how many fish were in the pond. So to do this, we're going to make a diagram, and I know that I have 5 parts because of that first number, 3/5 were bluegill. That fraction will help us solve for the whole thing. So I'm going to split this box up into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know that 3 of those 5 were bluegill, which means 2/5 were not bluegill. But all of them are fish, right? If I split all of the fish in the pond into 5 groups, 3 of those 5 groups were bluegill, and 2 of those 5 fish were not. So now the other important part here is that there are 45 total bluegill. So I can write a 45 here. I know that that is 45. But I don't know the number of how many fish were not bluegill. And I also don't know how many were in the whole thing, total. So let's figure out how many fish are in each group. I know that this 45 is getting split up into 3 groups. And 45 divided by 3 is 15. So that means that each group here is 15 fish. And that goes all the way down there. And now I know how many fish were not bluegill. I add up the 15 and the 15 and get 30. And now I can tell my total fish. That would be 45 bluegill plus 30 that are not bluegill to equal a total of 75 fish. Number 2, when Sean finished page 51, he was 3/8 of the way through his book. His book had how many pages? Okay, let's circle these important fractions here. He was 3/8 of the way through his book. So that means I'm going to split my book up into 8 parts. And I know that he is 3/8 through, which means he has not read the other 5/8. But I want to actually solve for how many pages are in the book total. So I want to know number of pages. So I know that 3/8 of the way through gets him to 51 pages. So let me see how many pages was in each section here. 51 divided by 3 gets me to 17 pages each. It's just like if you're thinking about that you want to finish a book in 8 days, he would have had to read 17 pages each day. But we don't know how many total pages this book is, but we're going to find out now. So I know that my final number is 17 pages times the total 8 parts, which is 136. So that is how many pages are in my book. Number 3. As Sandra went from room to room, she found that 3/5 of the lights were on and that 30 lights were off. How many lights were on? So this one is different because they give us a fraction and then they give us a number. We're solving for how many lights are on. So we're going to plug that into my diagram. I'm going to split it into 5 parts because that's what my fraction told me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those aren't the most even, that's okay. 3/5 are on. And I know that the other part is 30 off. But I don't know what that fraction is. But I can just look at my diagram and see that that's 2/5 are off. And now that I know a number and a fraction over here, I can solve for the amount over here. 30 divided by 2 parts is 15. So each block is 15. There are a lot of lights in this house. So it's important to think back about what the question was actually asking us. They were asking how many lights are on. That's actually this part up here. It's not the whole amount of lights. We're solving for how many lights were on. So if I know that 30 were off and each block has 15, I'm going to have to do 15 times 3, and I would get the answer that 45 lights are on.